Last week, Republicans on the House Committee on Oversight and Reform made public unredacted excerpts of emails that reveal not only what Dr. Anthony Fauci was aware of with regard to the coronavirus and when, but also the efforts that were made to maintain the narrative that he and his cohorts were pushing. We talked a little bit about this yesterday, but last week, Senator Rand Paul noted during a Senate hearing this very fact.
You deny, but the emails tell the truth of this.
No.
This wasn't the only time. Your desire to take down those who disagree with you didn't stop with Harvard, Oxford, and Stanford. You conspired with Peter Daszak, who you communicated with privately, and other members of the scientific community that wrote opinion pieces for Nature. 5 of them signed a paper for Nature, an opinion piece. 17 signed a paper that called it conspiracy theory, the idea that the virus could have originated in the lab.
So what else have the unredacted emails revealed to the public? Joining me now to talk about this is Caroline Downey, news writer for National Review Online, who has been tracking this. Caroline, welcome to Washington Watch.
Thanks so much for having me.
Okay, so kind of give us the timeline here. Going back to January of 2020, what did these emails that Dr. Fauci and Dr. Collins were involved in, what did these emails tell us?
So this chain of correspondence is from a conference call of experts from February 2020, which is when the pandemic erupted, as we all know. And what they really reveal is the extent to which dissent was suppressed or outright hidden by the scientific establishment on the origin of the COVID-19 virus. Here we have a virologist, immunologist, and a biologist who all explicitly say in their summary of this conference, in their sort of analysis, their observations of the chemical makeup of the virus. And they all conclude that there was a very peculiar feature of it that suggested engineering that was gain of function. And what that means is that there was no scientific consensus really at the pivotal moment. And yet, despite this disagreement internally among all these researchers, Fauci and Collins, the pivotal players here who were the spokespeople for our scientific community at the time, dismissed the lab leak hypothesis as conspiracy. And that's what the American public received, was that narrative.
So just so our listeners and viewers are very clear on this, this was a small group, people that actually, if I'm not mistaken, many of these experts received funding from the federal government. So these were people that Fauci would be colleagues, people who know what they're talking about. So this isn't random people that happen to send emails. These are people that know this stuff. And as you said, they pointed to this particular feature, I think at the furin cleavage site, which suggested the gain of function engineering. But if I'm not mistaken, Caroline, on the timeline, 2 days after this information was presented is when we saw this push for an explanation by Dr. Fauci and others that this was a natural occurrence, that there was what it would appear to be from those emails, an intentional effort to direct attention away from the possibility of this being specifically engineered.
Yes, the timeline is very telling. Just 1 month after this correspondence reportedly happened, in March 2020, Dr. Francis Collins of the National Institutes of Health called the lab leak theory outrageous. And then just shortly after, Dr. Fauci told National Geographic, which is a very reputable magazine, that COVID, quote, could not have been artificially or deliberately manipulated. So they wanted to put this to bed.
Why? What is the motivation? And I'm probably asking you to speculate, but what could be the possible motives here for them not just following the science and the facts?
Well, the idea that it originated not in a seafood market or in nature, but in a laboratory that was in China, could suggest to some that Dr. Fauci and Dr. Collins wanted to maintain that scientific relationship with China, and there's some culpability there that they probably did not want to be exposed.
Could it also be the fact that it appears, and this is one of the issues that Rand Paul and others have made, that we, the U.S. government, has funded this gain of function research in China in the lab?
Yes, yes. And I mean, although Fauci will use these rhetorical gymnastics when he's in the witness chair in front of in front of Senator Paul, that at the time, the experimentation that the lab was engaging in did not technically qualify as gain of function. As we've seen, Senator Paul has really nailed Dr. Fauci on that, and it's quite clear to anybody with just like basic critical thinking or comprehension skills that it was gain of function research.
So we're out of time, Caroline, but last question for you. Have we heard the last of this, or will these emails drive more investigation into what was known, when it was known, and why it wasn't fully explored with the American people?
Well, every time there's a new kind of email dump like this, we go back to the Senate and we do another round of hearings. So I do not think this is the end by any means. Just give it time.
Okay. Caroline, Downey, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.